Okay, gang, welcome to class. So today, we're gonna work more this month that idea of femur rotation because um, when we zero in on it, um, glutes work, hamstrings work, calves work. We really become rear wheel drive, and the other thing is we get better at the femur rotating and pushing the torso forward. So in anything like walking, running, hiking, um, we get better efficiency, less chances of us using our backs or things like that. So I'm going to use the chair as a way to kind of give me a gauge of the angle of my torso, and so that you can visually see when my femur is rotating versus when which is kind of a combo between a squat and a hinge if we want to use those parameters, but it's not a hinge because it's not about the torso going up and down, and it's not a squat either. So, okay, so I'm gonna take a dowel behind my back, not because I want all of my pieces touching it, but so that I give myself a tail so that you can really clearly start to see that when I topple the femur, um, and I'm going for toppling it and getting the same angle with my torso as the back of the chair. So my tail touches it. So now I'm going to work at my tail basically moving in the same plane as the chair, but up and down. So you can see that then becomes a movement of my thigh, back, and rotating this end of it back forward. Which is different than if I, say, did a hinge. Which now, see how I'm not moving on the same incline of the chair? This is a different movement. Or if I was to, say, be wanting to focus on a squat, again, that's a combo of my legs and my torso. So I'm wanting to just us to work on isolating this rotation at the femur. So I get my little tail, okay? And now I'm going to work the rotation of just the femur. And so my torso isn't changing position. And pretty quickly here, you like, I can feel my glutes are being loaded. But it has to do with this pitch of the torso and then this pitch of the thigh. Okay? Let that go. So it's those relationships that we're going to kind of focus on today. And just a folding chair, this angle helps to kind of cement that and see that. So that was on two legs. So now I'm going to work it a little bit here. And we're just getting warmed up in this movement pattern. So now I'm going to work it a little bit here. I'm still going to use this as a reference point for the pitch of my torso, but I'm going to go to a single leg. Now, because my chair back is so high and I want to use this incline as a way to gauge my torso, I'm going to use a couple of yoga blocks so that my standing leg is high enough that this works for me to get the ball of my foot up there. You can use the wall for balance as well. I gotta get this guy a little bit further away. You'll know once you get up and you get the ball of this foot on. But so now this automatically starts to put my torso pitch in the right kind of angle that I want. That's the same as that chair back. And then I'm just going to work this topple of the thigh, I'm staying in the range of motion that I can do that without having my torso hinge and unhinge. So I'm keeping the same pitch in my torso because it's this femur rotation that pushes this torso forward. And you will feel your glute here, your side hip stuff, your glute stuff. It's just pitch that thigh back, pitch that thigh forward, pitch that thigh back. So now there's a weight shift that happens in the foot. I also think a little bit to come back up, I kick the power pad of this foot into the chair back. That's what rotates that thigh. Okay, we're going to scooch this over to the other side. Get that up there. Automatically my torso starts to get into the same angle as that chair. That the incline really helps to then zero in. Now this is my compressed leg or my down leg. So my topple back ends up being more, and I've got more range of that femur rotation on this side. Okay. What I don't want to do is I don't want to pitch my shin back. I don't want to pitch my shin back. I want to topple and let my femur rotate. See the line the torso travels in with the femur rotation? It's different. The weight shift will be heel, 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 and then you want to get to that back side of the MTP joint. So there's a weight shift that happens in the feet. Toes should not be grabbing at all. When the femur rotation hits right, the foot will set up. It helps set the foot up. Whew, okay, that's enough. So it's not that I'm telling my foot to do certain things. It's that I'm taking care of the torso angle, focusing on the thigh rotation, checking in with the foot, and making sure that I'm getting weight shift happening in the foot from the rear foot or heel to the foot side of those MTP joints, and then the toes just behave. If I go past the foot side of the MTP joint, you'll get toes grabbing, pulling in, trying to wink or crease because the tips of them are pushing down into whatever you're standing on. Okay? So I'm going to come back to, one more time, both legs. I'm going to use my dowel because it is so easy for me to come out of rotating that femur. The tail just kind of helps me have a visual. I could, actually let's do that. Let's offset the feet a little bit. Then hinge forward. And then topple that thigh. Topple that thigh. Work the kick of the power pads. Oh, that one I lost it. Feel the weight shift in the feet. Okay, I'm going to switch. Whew. Okay, I'm going to rotate this front one. Let it rotate, rotate, rotate. Okay, I'm going to change the orientation of my mat a little bit. We're going to use our chair and come onto it. You're going to fold a leg up. Other leg, just to start with, is just out to the side. So the foot and knee aren't facing forward, but it's out to the side. Okay? And just kind of play with where your torso is and what you feel in both of the legs. Then we're going to heel toe this leg back. So now the thigh kind of topples forward. We're sort of in an elevated 90-90 using this chair. Okay, so we're just going to work our torso turning towards that back leg, and then turning to angle over that front leg. And we're just going to kind of work between these two. You can use your hands on the chair to push and pull, to kind of find some lines of direction, tension, pull that feel useful and usable for you. Okay, when you find something useful and usable, you'll just take a couple of breaths there. Okay, then we're going to take that leg out to the side, like so. And I'm going to use my leg the arm of the leg that's extended and reach over onto the chair back. Okay, now I'm going to let myself, so my rib cage kind of gets cradled by this arm, and I let myself fold away from the chair back. I could push this hand a little bit or just let it rest there. You could also reach this hand up, draw some circles at the elbow. You could reach that arm overhead. You could clasp the underside of the head. And then you could play with where you look down, forward, up towards that bicep. They're all going to give kind of different lines of pull or input. And again, find a place where it feels like some interesting, useful, usable lines of direction, tension, sensation in your body. Take a couple of breaths there. Then to come out, we're going to let ourselves roll forward into that arm and all the way around to come up. Okay, we're going to come up and use the chair in this way. I need 2 blocks, okay? Just because the chair seat is a bit lower than what I want. So I'm going to bring my shin onto those blocks. So then where my thigh is where my thigh is. Again, I'm going to get a little pitch forward of my torso, similar to what the angle of this chair back is. Okay? And then I'm going to work that pitching the knee down as I just kind of rock from my back foot up onto the toes. My back knee bends. Straighten that back leg. Just kind of a rocking elevated pigeon here. So the next time I come up, I'm going to find a place that I can work into that power pad of the back leg. Okay, I can work into the power pads on that chair and get a sense of those points of contact lifting me. Even this shin that's on the blocks, I'm kind of kicking into the power pad of that foot so that I lift up into this pigeon pose. Maybe I take a hand off, reach up, reach behind the head. Okay, and then I'm going to swing that shin around, step that foot forward, and we're going to clip those blocks down. So then let's take the chair over to the other side. And we're going to come up onto that chair seat with our leg and take our other leg out. Just play with it. And then from here, toppling that knee forward. Don't be afraid to take the foot back towards that back edge of the mat. So we've got a more externally rotated leg, more internally rotated leg. And then use the chair to help facilitate a pull and a push with the hands to turn yourself more over that front leg and or more over that back leg. And we're just going to kind of move between the front leg and the back leg. And stay for a few breaths. Anywhere that you find kind of some useful and usable sensations here. Okay, and then we're going to slide that leg out. Okay, I kind of get wedged into the power pad of that foot. Then we're going to take the arm of that leg that's extended. I'm going to reach it across. There's lots of places on the chair back that you can hook on. And then you're going to drape your rib cage over that upper arm. Okay, you could use that other arm to create a bit of a push, to add weight, to add support. And then play with just turning the laser on your breastbone kind of down towards the front of the room, towards the ceiling. And again, find the angle of that laser that provides kind of useful, usable sensation for you. And then you're going to roll that laser down towards the ground. and back up to the seated position. Okay, we're gonna unhook the leg. This is where we're gonna grab a couple of yoga blocks, place them on that seat. Could also be a bolster. I'm gonna come with my shin onto those yoga blocks. So your foot might be out to the side here. It might be back closer underneath you. And then again, I can start to use the angle of this chair back to get this angle with my torso. And then I'm going to work rolling through that back leg and onto the ball of the foot. This front thigh, hip pitching down, pitching up, pitching down, pitching up. I kind of kick into the power pads of both these feet to pitch up, pitching down, pitching up. So my torso is mirroring the angle of the back of the chair as I pitch the hip end of this thigh down, and then I pitch it up. Or I could think of pitching this end of the thigh up and then pitching it down, up and then pitching it down. Okay. Whoo. Find that power pad of both of the feet, of the hands. Now let's lift up. So now my spine isn't and torso isn't mirroring the chair back. And it might be too that I reach an arm up and back, working into the power pads of the feet and the hands to find this lift out of this elevated pigeon. Okay, and then we're going to come off of that. Okay, we're going to use the wall and the chair and our yoga blocks. So we're going to face the wall with our chair, and I'm going to get close enough to the wall that I get the pads of my feet on the wall, and then I'm going to place the yoga blocks down and under the back side behind my lower shins here. Okay, so you might have to, I think I have to get a little further. There we go. So I've kind of got them wedged. You want definitely contact with the lower shin and the ability to have the balls of the feet on the wall. Okay. So now from here, I'm just going to work kicking the balls of the feet up the wall to start to find a forward fold for myself. Kick the balls of the feet up the wall. Kick the balls of the feet up the wall. Kick the balls of the feet up the wall. This next time when I kick the, I would love, make a little change here. I would love to have the back legs of this chair a little bit elevated. Otherwise I'm kind of smushing my hamstrings on the front edge of my chair. So not a huge amount of height, but just a little bit so that the chair seat slopes in the direction that I want my pelvis to go. Okay, so balls of the feet get on the wall. I'm working, kicking those power pads, into the wall. Those yoga blocks are behind my lower shins. So although I'm kicking the power pads, there's also a sense of pushing my shins into the yoga blocks. And then I start to feel, so if you watch this Lululemon tag, what we want to start to feel is not that I round through my back, but that this tag starts to come towards my pubic bone. This tag starts to come towards the pubic bone. Okay? Belly comes onto the thighs. Hands I could fold my forearms, rest them on my knees. Take a few breaths here. You could reach the hands behind the chair and somewhere. Take a few breaths. You could bring the hands down and onto the wall. Kind of find the power pads on the wall. And then walk the hands back up. Hands are going to come down the back of the chair legs. Maybe the seat of the chair, the fingers roll under. And just kind of find where it feels like you can kind of start to roll the elbows, the arms, the shoulders. And again, this like we did with pigeon, but there's like this sense of lift. So also don't be afraid. Everybody's kind of torso length and things are different. That you might need to come up, or you might want to come up onto some yoga blocks. And again, play with, so for some of us, like this is going to be too low of a hinge point. And we're going to be better on the seat of the chair. Okay? Some of us might just want to move our bum towards the front of the seat. And now again, I get into a different place where now I can kind of work those vertebrae around the chair back and just take some breaths there. Maybe I scoot my bum forward a little bit more, change the grip of my hands and arms. And again, I get into a different point on that chair back. Maybe I bring the balls of the feet back to the wall, kick up through the power pads of the feet, and just kind of work some different areas along that spine that aren't just your kind of go-to hinge point. Okay? Spend a bit of time, take a few breaths there, move to the next spot. We could also use the chair this way, and that we now come down into tall kneeling. So now I'm in tall kneeling. Oh, I'm going to get my feet underneath. Yeah, I'm in tall kneeling, and then I can work my hands this way, down the chair arms, onto the chair seat back. Again, to kind of find where that line of like wrapping the arms, where I can get into a different action with my vertebra than maybe that vertebra likes to do. I'm tipping the chair onto the front two legs, or the legs closest to me a little bit. Then I tip it back down. Maybe I work out a little bit. walk out a little bit, walk out a little bit. Again, tip the chair back, just so we start to get into some different areas. I could take a couple of breaths here, kick through the power pads of the feet. So you can start to work into putting some direction into the spine where maybe it doesn't get that much extension. And now we'll work flexion a little bit, okay? But I do love just a nice rounded folding chair back because I can get into lots of the little niggles and nooks and crannies of those vertebrae. And remember what we do with the hands, the power pads of the hands, and even this sense of rotation with the fingers in what we're grasping puts a direction into those vertebrae, okay? So I'm going to work flexion again here using the chair back. Actually, I'm going to fold this guy. Let's grab a blanket. I'm going to grab a felt pad and grab a blanket. I'm going to work it this way. So I'm going to take that felt pad and work it right up into my hip crease and at my pubic bone. So as I fold over, it like leaves me some space in the front of the hip. And then find the chair legs. Maybe you want to use a chair block, just so the head is able to rest on something. So that blanket or felt pad at the hip crease helps me to get less flexion with these lumbar vertebrae and moves it up my back a little bit. Could cross the wrists, and again, just kind of play with how you wrap the fingers on that chair and feel for what you do with the fingers and the wrists to what puts in a bit more sense of flexion or rounding into that spine. And don't forget to have weight more in the mid-foot, foot side of the MTP joint, but I'm still working the heel underneath. I'm not pinching the skin of the heel with the heel bone, but I'm able to kind of nod and roll that heel bone to get me nice and connected through the backs of the legs. Okay, let's soften those knees and then kick through the power pads of the feet, rolling ourselves up to a standing position. Okay, we're going to come on down to the ground. You can scoot the chair out of the way. Bring your 2 yoga blocks with you. And we're going to work kind of a couple of things here. One is working the angle of the yoga block to just, actually, I'm going to turn my yoga mat because the prop of the blocks is going to facilitate needing a yoga mat. I want to use them. Oh boy, I gotta vacuum my floor. Okay, as my pants pick up all the dust bunnies. Okay, so take those yoga blocks and you're gonna place them underneath on an angle the shin part of your thigh, or sorry, shin part of your leg, not your thigh. So I'm on the shin part below my knee joint, and I've tipped those blocks on an angle. And just kind of notice the sense of support, containment, maybe connection that offers you. And then play with shifting that block down closer to the ankle. And play with, if my block is more this way, that puts in a different direction than if my block is more this way. So you might need the blocks might need to be slightly different left to right. Okay, but we want to find a position with those blocks that, again, it feels like there's some containment, some connection, some ability to then it's like, oh, I can bring the hands back, kind of lift up and out of the pelvis with the torso and the chest. And that there's just an ease with which the breath moves in and out here. Okay, then we're going to take those yoga blocks, and instead of being more shin focused, we're going to come up and support more the thigh. So for some of us, especially if we've got like super bendy floppy ankles, the shin and closer to the foot support of the block is going to feel better than having the block up and at the thigh. Okay, again, the angle of this block, so if I tip it more this way, this is different than if the block is this way. Okay, so play with the angle of the block. Or maybe my brain's kind of going, we actually might want it to be so kind of play with it. Again, find where it gives you this sense of connection, ease in the hips. The breath in and the breath out just kind of happens. And then you can play with, maybe you cat-cow the spine, maybe you just sit tall, maybe you play with finding a bit of that forward fold, which again, having the thighs get out of the way is going to be easier than when we were propped here and then the thighs are kind of in the way a little bit, but actually that feels really good too. So just play a little bit with how you. Sometimes we think when we prop the legs, it's all about support, and really it puts a direction into the bones of the shin and the thigh, and how that can impact us. Hold on a sec. What's up, Flo?
Is there any chance if you have any time you could stop by and bring me food? Because I already ate all my lunch and I'm kind of hungry. Look at the cat.
Oh, he's so cute. Probably not, because I'm teaching right now.
Later, maybe?
Like to the school, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can drop something off before I
Why would it be that
head
much
out.
to bring like cobs or like good bread?
We have bread, good bread here.
No, no, like a bagel or a pretzel.
No, I'm not driving somewhere to get you a bagel or pretzel.
Okay.
Sorry. Okay, love you. Bye.
I love you. Bye.
Okay. Okay, so you might end up moving your blocks here in a second, but what we're going to do, actually take them out for a second. You're going to come down onto our backs. So again, now on your back, place those blocks either under the thigh or under the shin. Okay. And we're just going to hang here for a couple of minutes. This feels really good. So you're going to take one block out and straighten that leg. Keep the other block in. But you might find that you have to adjust it because, yeah, there needs to be something different, that a different kind of direction that comes in now that we've taken a leg straight. Take a couple of breaths there. Maybe you come up, and now that we've got two blocks, oh, I cannot. There we go. I've got it, and now I've got one under the shin, one under the thigh. Maybe you interlace the fingers, bring your pointer fingers together, thumbs together, kind of like Charlie's Angels, and just reach those arms overhead. I can't get them straight. I'm too close to the wall. But it's like I wanted to do that. Or maybe you just come into goalpost or cactus arms on the floor. Okay, then I'm gonna place the props under the other side. Come back into like Baddha Konasana. That's probably going to be the best way to do this. And then straighten out that right leg. Yeah, there we go. Okay, then we're going to take those yoga blocks. We're going to stand both of our legs up. And we're going to take the yoga blocks and bring the edge of the yoga block right into our butt crease. So I'm going to kick into the pads of the feet to lift up a little bit so I can really get that edge in where the flesh of the butt and the thigh meet, and then take those legs out. And then you might have to adjust the blocks a little bit to get the right angle of the block based on how your legs roll out. Yeah, that feels pretty good. Okay. So just let your attention relax, soften, widen, and diffuse. And for the next several minutes, you're just going to practice being that observer of your attention. You are not your attention that flits maybe like a pollinator from place to place. But we're practicing dropping back and being the observer of our attention. that room and of my voice. And then bring your attention just to the blocks. You're going to just slide legs off enough that you can quickly and quietly, with the least amount of disruption possible, slide the bricks out of the way and just lengthen out the legs long. And then with your next exhale, you'll start with the count of 9. Inhale 8. And you're just going to count your way back to 0. And then once you reach 0, you're just going to start to gently wiggle the fingers and toes. Start to bring movement back to the body. Maybe stretching out arms overhead, legs out long like a big yawn, or maybe curling up the knees into the chest, curling up like a ball. But you'll make your way from your back on to your side, whatever way feels good for you today. Ooh, chilly floor on my set. And then take a few breaths on your side before you use your arm and your hand to press up to a seated position. And then pressing yourself up, we'll just find a comfortable seat. Maybe notice how things feel as you come cross-legged. Feeling centered in the pelvis. Bringing the palms together just to the left of the breastbone in Anjali Mudra. Maybe reaching the fingertips away from one another. Breathing in with ease and out with a sense of okayness. Om Shanti Shanti Peace.